this podcast, it's revealed. For the breakdown, let's ignite. Black and gold, we're taking flight. Every story, every fight. For the breakdown, every night.
What is going on, everybody? It is Sunday, an odd Sunday recording for us, December 1st, 2024. Up here, you've got our good friend Aaron Lynch filling in for Tanner. He's fulfilling some Thanksgiving family duties today. But we come to you, if you haven't heard already, you must be living under a rock, but Purdue has officially fired Coach Ryan Walters following a 66-0 blowout in the old Looking Bucket game in Bloomington last night, and also following a 5-19 tenure at Purdue in 2 short seasons. So yeah, we're here to just kind of react to it, talk about it. I know Aaron wanted to do a fun, if you want to call it that, game of debate. Let's debate 2013 versus 2024 and see which season was more miserable. So we're going to do that apparently. Got a couple comments here off the start. Ted Berkey, loyal viewer and listener, right call, said that never worked out. Best of luck to future and to Walters. Now find someone who will make Purdue football fun to watch and win again. And our good friend Cameron Day, ding dong, the witch is dead. But Aaron, thanks for joining us. I guess we can talk about the game a little bit. I mean, we don't know a whole lot to talk about. It was a miserable experience. On all facets. I think Purdue finally crossed the 50, what felt like in the third quarter, it felt like.
Crimmins hit some big punts, I'm not going to lie.
MVP of the game, Crimmins, for sure.
I would say season MVP.
Yeah. Purdue did debut some new white helmets, second white helmet of the year with it kind of mirrored the, or it was the same as the black script that they wore against Oregon, just now in the white. I thought they looked good. As someone who doesn't like the all white look, typically, I thought the all white looked pretty sharp last night as we got ran off the field. But hey, at least we look good.
But
what was your?
On the helmets. I don't like numbers on helmets. Outside,
I don't like that. I don't like the numbers part. I agree with you. I think I like the other white ones better. But I guess. Reactions to the game, reactions to the news, what were your thoughts? Was this what you thought was going to happen? What were your, obviously the last couple of weeks we've kind of been, if you follow Golden Black and follow the people who are in the know, the talk was, Ryan Walters is, it's leading to the fact that, he may be coming back. But I don't know. What were your thoughts kind of last couple of weeks? Very
odd compared to, I would say 8 years ago with Hazel. That was Babinski's, first year on the job. You would expect, results similar. It's very eerie how 2013 looks to 2024. I understand Hazel had a couple more years since then, but to see how far this team has regressed since last year, I'm surprised nothing went out. I think the one thing I'm kind of surprised of today was that Pete Thamel broke it. When Babinski said, "What does Pete Thamel know?" a few weeks ago, I think at the start of November, in an interview that I read, and it's hard I was in the boat that I actually thought that they were just going to take, we don't want to spend the money. We have college revenue sharing coming up. We're going to eat another year of this guy because we've had the highest capacity in Ross-Ade since 2005. So in regards to, I remember when Morgan was subbing for a couple classes of mine, Morgan Burke, that is, he's said, you got to make your cash cow. And regardless of what the results are on the field, if you're getting the ticket revenue, I mean, that's driving what a lot of the profit is within the athletic department being self-funded. Yeah. And that was hard the stomach note thinking that was what was going to happen here. Yeah. But it's good that the university kind of realized, and I don't know if it was 67 yards of total offense last night versus 66 points, getting shut out 3 times, having the 2 worst losses in Purdue football history in the same year.
And to in-state rivals, nonetheless, like that's.
And last night could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah,
he called off the dogs.
Yeah,
and and he started running up the middle, and I was like, oh, thank goodness, Signetti, you did.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just take this up to 80.
My prediction, I'm not sure you listened to our last episode, but I said in my heart says like 42-10 or something like that, but my brain, which is usually smarter, thought 72-3. That was pretty damn close.
I thought with the win last night, it was going to be hard to make a field goal.
Yeah,
With those conditions, it's a hard. I guess, as Cameron said, it's good that we're moving on in regards to his comment that he made earlier.
Yeah.
But the thing is, where do we go from here? Because you can't get this other hire wrong.
No, which I was kind of going back to what you said about, we're taking another year, which I was kind of in the boat. I know Tanner was too, of like, if he's coming back, fine. Like, it is what it is. Like, if you're going to bring a whole new staff in, that's one thing. We were going to be there no matter what. But I just knew that it was going to be, coming off a record year for attendance, which is pretty crazy. There'd be nobody there next year if they brought him back.
And the athletic department's going to raise ticket prices to cover this revenue sharing next year.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to have to raise football season tickets, whether that's 10%, 20%, 30%. That's to be determined yet.
Yeah. We saw recruits, which is going to be a small class regardless, but we saw recruits kind of leaving left and right. Lord knows what the portal was going to bring if he was retained. We thought the players seemed to like him because of, they played hard for him. It would have been pretty easy for these guys to quit, in October, but they seem to really not sometimes. I mean, it was kind of last night looked like they quit.
First half against Michigan State looked like they quit too.
Yeah. But it was just the whole thing. Like, if they're going to bring him back, why not say something? Because again, like, just kind of, put it to bed. Like, that way, like, we as a fan base can kind of move on, and, it helps recruiting. Or whatever, like, at least that there's stability. But then now the flip side was, I know Mike Carmen's brought up good points with, like, if you have to bring in all these new coordinators or these, analysts or people to kind of help him, like, is he really the guy? Which I don't think, and this is kind of where bad for Walters, and as much as you can feel bad for a guy who's going to get paid $9 million to go away, which, man, that's the dream.
That is the dream.
Yeah. I don't think he was set up for success. I think he could have had more guidelines with the athletic. Okay, like, we need to bring in some, like, coach before, maybe bring in somebody with a head coaching background as like a analyst or somebody, just to kind of help. Because as we saw when things got really tough this year, there was nobody to lean on. Or when we lost, when we fired Graham Harrell, there was nobody on the offense who had ever called a play before. At the college level anyways. So I think that's where probably it could have helped him, is if they had that. But it was just, like you said, like, it's wild how much this team regressed from the last 4 games of last year to this year. It's insane.
I do want to ask this question because I actually did post it to Tanner on Friday. At some point when you're paying someone this much money, regardless of age, they should understand their weak points in regards to where their pockets they need to improve on, and build a staff around them. To give a guy this much money and autonomy in regards to hiring his own staff, I get it. That's the name of the game. But I think that looks on Walters himself for not bringing in that experience and bringing everyone around. And I liken this to what Sherrone Moore did at Michigan this year, and bringing in Wink Martindale, who won them the USC game and pretty much won them the game yesterday against Ohio State.
Yeah.
So, I look at it and saying, Walters, Babinski, there, you could have done more support and guidelines, exactly what you said. But I think when you're handing a guy that much money, you would expect him to make the correct decisions.
Yes.
And understand his analysis of himself and his profile, and where his gaps of experience are at 38 years old. Could have been to bring in staff members around him to ensure when things did get tough, he did have experienced guys behind him that have navigated these waters before and got the program out of them or stabilized it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy just how, really it's all turned. Second game of the year, it's Notre Dame. Saw 6 feet, and, really, the signs were there. then it never really ever got any better outside of a few moments. I think it was I put this to a group chat with some other buddies on the season. Obviously, Purdue ends 1-11, 0-10 versus FCS or FBS schools. Outscored an abysmal amount compared to FBS schools. But I think on the year, not counting the Indiana State game, Purdue led for just under 10 minutes of game time. It was like, I'm not sure I can find it now, but it was like 4 minutes in the Michigan State game, almost 4 minutes in the Illinois game, and then like less than a minute against Nebraska. Like it was something just wild. Got some more comments here. This is on YouTube. Metal Scholar 007. Thank God, as the landscape turns more and more to 2 super leagues, the Big Ten, SEC. Next coaching hire has to be a big league coach with experience because Big Ten is big league. Yeah, I think that's, and we'll get into candidates. The names have been thrown around here in a little bit, but yeah, I think you have to. And again, this was a gamble of a hire when it happened. I think it was definitely a high risk, high reward type hire. If it hit, it was probably going to hit big. But it did not. And I think, obviously his inexperience and then just missing. Honestly, I think the staff just absolutely whiffed on about every portal player outside of Crimmins, really.
Yeah.
So that was huge. I mean, I tweeted from our Twitter account last night when I was rage tweeting a few times, but that our Georgia transfers got away with absolute robbery. The fact that Nyland Green just was not a good defensive back for us this year. CJ Smith played a game and a half, it feels like. CJ Madden wasn't very good either. I know he got hurt, but just a lot of and I think that kind of goes to, goes into Ray's comment here on Facebook. Do people really think changing coaches is only going to change results with today's NIL money? I think it does. I mean, coaching matters.
We saw yesterday with Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah, and as we saw, you saw during the game yesterday, I saw a handful of former players who played for both Hazel and Brom tweeting that, hey, this coaching matters. Brom took guys who were nothing but losers under Hazel and won 7 games in a bowl game the next year. We're seeing it when we saw it. Down south with Signetti. He brought in a bunch of, lower level guys from James Madison, and obviously he had some decent transfers with. Obviously Rourke was a good player and one of the running backs from Wake Forest, but they weren't bringing in guys from Georgia or guys from that were former 4-stars or whatever. He took guys that had knew how to win and could be coached, and now they're going to the college football playoff.
Well, that were also a part of his culture, because I don't know if you heard on the telecast last night that he didn't guarantee them a spot. He guaranteed them a chance to compete.
Yeah.
And these folks and those kids wanted to be a part of a winning culture.
Yeah. I think we can make a lot of parallels to that to Painter and his system. Like we kind of saw with, Cannon Catchings, leaving before he campus supposedly wanted certain guarantees, and Painter's like, all I'm going to guarantee you is an opportunity to make your spot. And, I think both parties are doing better for their respective move, but coaching is so important, at least especially team and just knowing what buttons to push at the right time. It's huge.
Absolutely.
Carl here on YouTube. In this era, I question 4 to 5 year contracts with large and annually is escalating salaries at 75%, but transfers is no longer requires 4 years to build a team. Now you're right. I'd be interested if this changes, but I think these coaches, they want this guarantee of 4 to 5 years so they can, sell, juniors and sophomores in high school that, hey, I'm going to be here when you get here versus if they only had, 2-year contracts. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing if that ever does change.
So let me ask you this, because I'm trying to remember back to when you and Tanner did the season preview. Did you think that this was possible? That we'd be sitting here today?
No, I didn't. I think that's also what really sucks is just you just feel like you've just been absolutely just the wool pull over your eyes, and you've been really fooled, and you just kind of feel like an idiot as a fan, because I was totally bought in. I knew this wasn't going to be a 10-win, 8-win season. I was, I was hoping for 6, expecting probably 4. I think even when we did our preview, I think my win total was 5 in the end. I think that 5th one was Indiana just because it was IU and I was going to pick us to win no matter what at the time. But I didn't think it was going to be with, what we had read, which I think that's, who knows. And like, is that the media's fault or is that just, the coaching staff, pumping hot air to the media members? But, we were told that the offensive line was going to be a huge strength of this team. It was atrocious.
No way. The guys that he got were again high risk, high reward, and unfortunately, those guys. As I told Tanner when he sent me, I was like, "There's no way these guys aren't established. They haven't played."
I like the fact that you had Hartwig coming back. You had some guys who had been here. It was. We had heard all about the wide receiver. We're getting Edrin back off injury. CJ Smith has NFL level speed. Not necessarily they're going to be a strength, but there was a lot of intrigue there. You had some bigger bodies. I had full confidence in the defensive back in the secondary with Thieneman back after an All-American season. 5-star Terrian Grant coming in. Potentially not even being a starter. It's like, oh man, if he's not a starter, then those guys ahead of him must be pretty damn good. And just like I just can't believe how lost they looked all year. I think that was just I never thought that. I knew we wouldn't. Probably weren't going to make a bowl, but I was expecting, 4 wins and being competitive against the big boys like Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State.
I would have loved. Yes, stopping you right there. Competitive is the thing. At least putting 1 or 2 drives together against those teams. Not going scoreless. Not getting. I mean, at times not even going to cross the 50.
Yeah. So it was just. I mean, just an all-out probably. I mean. Just an absolute horrible season. It's the first time, or is it the 3rd time I think we've lost 11 straight games? First time in a while, I think. I know that for sure. Or the first time it may be like the 3rd 1-11 season. It might have been the first time we've ever lost 11 straight. I know like with Hazel, we lost, but then we won the next game and then lost 10 straight. I don't know about the other seasons. But yeah, Purdue's only win came in the month of August, which feels like a lifetime ago.
But it's 3 months ago.
Yeah. We can get into your thing you sent me before we hopped on here, where Aaron wanted to compare the 2 most recent 1-11 seasons, 2024 and 2013, and see which one was worse.
Let's before we go into this in detail, going to both seasons and us being in college at that 113 season and now this 111 season and this 111 season, as a fan, which one was harder to watch?
This one. Okay. This one was way harder. Yeah, because going into 2013, we were coming off the Hope era, which kind of like, we made 2 back-to-back bowls, but we kind of like, it was a Little Caesars Bowl and the Heart of Dallas Bowl. We kind of backed our way into both of them. We wanted more as a fan base, and new coach coming in, wasn't expecting a whole lot, just because I knew he was going to take some time to build at that point, in the world of college football. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot. We had some turnover, obviously with Rob Henry now being the starter at quarterback. But going into this year, coming off, the way the team looked last year at the end of the season, beating Minnesota, doing well against, beating the crap out of Illinois, beating Indiana, the off-season moves that looked really, really good from paper standpoint. Coming in, I knew obviously the schedule was going to be an absolute bear. But like we just talked about, I thought, hey, I'm not expecting us to win 8 games, but I think we can definitely be, hey, let's win 4 games and let's give some of these other teams a scare. We had talked about before the year of between Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon, which one you feel most confident? I know Tanner said Penn State was his most confident win. I picked Notre Dame. Oh man. So hey, put a scare in one of those teams, and we'll be good. And then just the way that the wheels fell off immediately after the Indiana State game was just shocking.
Yes. I'll say this year as well, because I would say 2013 we were a little bit more competitive in the other games.
Yeah,
that we were. I think Wisconsin was the worst loss in 2013, if I remember right.
Probably, yeah. It was probably like 56-0 or something. Or Ohio State.
Or was it Northern Illinois? I remember that Northern Illinois game leaving at like third quarter because I was just it was horrible.
That team was actually good though. I mean, it's a MAC school, I get it, but yeah, that was a
50. Sorry, Ohio State came in and beat us 56-0.
6-0. Yeah.
So that was the worst loss that year. But we did hang in with Penn State. We did hang in. Most of every school we put up points.
Yeah.
Unlike this roster.
Yeah.
So I will agree that this as a fan was definitely the hardest to stomach, especially I thought this team, you stated earlier, the hype with all the recruits coming in, what this team came off of in regards to looking competitive in games, looking like they were making improvements and strides towards the end of last year to the wheels just falling off and being a total loss after the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
So let's dive right in to this. Of the two teams of the two seasons, I should say, which team was the most penalized on average? Hazels or Walters?
That's a good question. Like just this year.
Well, between the 13 and
yeah. Sorry. And we had a lot of penalties to start the year. I feel like it got better towards the end of the year. So I'm going to say Hazel just for that fact. It seemed like it got better the last back half of the season.
Okay. I will say that it was actually this year.
Okay.
I'm pulling it up right now. The team stats, we averaged about 10 penalties a game between offense and defense in this year. And I'll give the yardage here in a second. But in Hazel's in 2013, we averaged roughly just under nine penalties a game for a total of roughly 69 yards. In 2024, we averaged just over 10 penalties a game between offense and defense for a total of 98 yards, so almost 100 yards a game this year.
I feel like I don't remember what kind of penalties back in 2013. I've tried to block those years out of my memory for as best I could. But I feel like a lot of this year was just like pre-snap penalties on the offensive line, just dumb stuff to where like, it was one thing if it's, a pass interference where you're trying to be, that's kind of what we saw with Walters. Was like his DBs were going to be physical and you're going to get, you're going to get PIs from that. But that's, if you're being physical, it's one thing. But a lot of it was just dumb stuff. It felt like
it definitely was. Of the two teams, which offense had provided the most first downs?
I'm gonna go Hazel.
You are correct by 0.2. So in 2013, Darrell Hazel's team averaged 14.6 total first downs a game, while Walters this year was 14.6. 14.8, while Walters was 14.6 this year. Kind of surprising thinking about that. Tanner and I have had the conversation. He thought the 2013 team was more talented. If you look at the roster, there was guys that made the NFL. One's still in the NFL as a starting running back. Mm-hmm. This team, I think there's probably 4 guys, maybe. There's 3 guys for sure that are probably going to get pro looks. And 4, I would say one of these, other wide receivers that would get in. I think Maccabee, Claire, Hartwig is definitely going to, for sure, NFL looks.
I think Marcus Bowe is getting some NFL looks too.
And clean up on those penalties.
Yeah.
It'd be probably depth. But that was definitely shocking. Now, this is the one that probably was the deciding factor. As you know, this year we gave up a lot of yards on the ground.
Yeah.
Between 13 and 2014, who gave up the most running yards per game?
On the ground.
Per game.
I'm gonna go Hazel just because I felt like teams like just the way our DBs played this year. I just feel like teams were able to just dink and dunk easily.
Yes, you were right. And if you recall that Wisconsin game, we just got ran over.
Yeah,
and the Northern Illinois game. Yes, you are correct. Hazel's and I need to preface. I believe this is updated from last night's game with Walters. But Hazel's in 2013 was 235 yards a game.
Good God!
And Walters is just around 200.
Yeah.
So, kind of eye-opening. I think the other thing was the points per game that I looked up. How many points did the offense score total for the season in 2013?
Points per game?
Mm-hmm. Who had a higher points per game? Was it this year's offense? Or 2013? I should phrase that question a little bit different.
So this team's definitely being buoyed by the Illinois and Indiana State game. But we put up zeros quite a bit. I know we put up zeros a couple times in 2013 as well. I think we put them up in back-to-back games.
We put them up twice. It was Michigan State and Ohio State.
Yeah. I'm going to say 2013, just from the fact that we've put up a couple. It was this year?
This year put up 10 more points than 2013.
Oh, wow.
It was 189 points this year versus 179 in 2013. Pretty eerie. I think Evan froze and it's getting a connection back online. Some kind of other stats looking just between the actual 2013 and 2024 teams.
Sorry.
Total. Oh, there you are. Total offense and yards. In 2013, we averaged 282 yards a game compared to this year of total offense of 299 yards.
What was the point total? Sorry, I didn't hear. I lost.
The point total was 189 this year versus 179 in 2013.
Okay. Wow.
When you start digging into the data, it's very, very eerie to 2013.
Yeah, it is. And that's also just like, and we saw people last year saying this was this was Hazel 2.0, which I was getting really mad. I was like that. And then obviously it kind of proved to be something kind of similar, which is just frustrating.
I think we have some comments that we probably need to go through.
Yeah, we do. I'll get into this coaching ones here in a minute. Ray Davis, going back to your penalties question, your penalties one, he says 2013 penalties for targeting wasn't in play, I believe. I do not remember that at all.
I don't remember that either.
Yeah.
Did we have a lot of I thought maybe we only had 1 or 2 targeting penalties this year.
I don't remember. I checked out a lot. Czar here
on offensive line.
Yeah.
This year.
As soon as pronounced Czar on YouTube, Walters was a Hail Mary hire. No need to take that much risk if you are Big Ten. Yeah, it was definitely a massive Hail Mary hire. Like I said, a high risk, high reward. If we didn't hire him, someone else was. Whether or not that's going to be the same results, who knows?
I would also say on that is there was poor succession planning by Babinski.
Oh, 100%.
You had to know Jeff was going to leave.
Yeah, that's what frustrates me the most is it seems like this caught Babinski off guard, which I don't understand how. Hell, there was, I think it was the off season going into the season where he left or the season right before he left he was in Louisville. It was like on some Louisville TV show or something, like they interviewed him and they asked him about essentially like, would you ever come back? And he's like, essentially it was like a never say never type thing. And it was like, that was, we all knew what was going to happen. Like from the moment he was hired, it was like, oh, we're going to have him as long as he wants to stay here and not go to Louisville. Obviously, the Louisville job kind of opened up, kind of, it was kind of very sudden. When with Fickle going to Wisconsin and Satterfield going to Cincy, but still, you had to have like the fact you didn't have like just something in place where like, hey, like maybe as we going to the offseason, just maybe start reaching out just as in case, like, hey, if this happens, would you be? That's the part that's most frustrating.
Correct. And I will say that looking at especially what Morgan, I remember talking to him about in classes, this is a business. Yep. And like any business, you would have to have succession planning at the highest level. And for Babinski and company that he has around him, not to do that is just asinine.
Yeah.
Especially when football is the cash cow, just because the amount of TV revenue,
ticket revenue, also,
correct, ticket revenue, everything else that comes with the home games and with football.
Yeah, I missed this one earlier. Also from Ray. Appreciate everybody commenting. Biggest thing we have seen was that when a new coach came into the program that turned around in 1 or 2 years, have been coaches who brought players with them from their former program to understand the system. Examples: Primetime and IU. Yeah, I mean that was kind of what we saw with. I mean, Signetti was a big thing. Other coaches, like that's the big thing we look at. Next coaches is like, can we have somebody who can bring players with them to kind of help with the transition, know the system. Like I think that's such a huge key. Obviously, it's not always going. I mean, we saw that kind of with. Braun did that a little bit, but and then again, Metal Scholar, for this fact alone, your head coaching job should be desirable. The fan base is mostly logical and would likely, in my opinion, be content year in and year out with at least flirting with making a bowl game. That's it. Yeah, with the new landscape of college football and the expanded Big Ten, like I think definitely are. Of course, you see Indiana is going to make the playoff. Like that could be, and why not? Why can't that be Purdue? But obviously, the stars definitely align there with the schedule. Them having to play a team like Michigan, who all of a sudden decided to suck this year of all years. Yesterday, kind of getting the bottom half of the Big Ten, avoiding all the big boys. But still, I mean, hey, kudos to them for blowing everybody out. But yeah, I think I know going into this year, which is like, hey, we'll take. If we make a bowl, great. That's kind of where I'm at. But yeah,
correct. And I'll say this: I did see an interview. I don't know, forget what network it was on, but they're talking with Signetti, and Signetti said when he was about to sign, he looked at the schedule for this year for IU, and he said there's 10 wins.
Yeah, before he even took the job. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead. I would be concerned to what. Unfortunately, college football is going to shape the rest of collegiate sports moving forward. Yeah. So today was a big day in regards to we're not going to stand pat with that and accept that. And that's what I was afraid of. And the news of yesterday, I'll say this: if we were going to keep Walters, we better be hiring someone like what Stanford did with Luck, going back to Stanford being the general manager. I don't care if it's Rick Hahn. I don't care if it's Ryan Grigson. I just someone that's done at the highest level that you can bring in. I know he's essentially like an associate AD at Stanford. Like he's actually like he is the football coach's boss. Where unlike it's like Walters had a GM, but it was just like another assistant coach essentially. I'm pretty sure. Like I don't think it was an actual like you report to me sort of thing. I think
correct.
Yeah.
And that's what I think they need to consider with this hire is putting someone in that position that is right below this, director level that understands roster management, especially revenue sharing, because I mean, you're going to have to target in the next, once this gets divvied out in the courts, you're going to have your pool of money. Where are you going to put that pool of money to?
Yeah.
And are you going to put how much are you going to devote to the offensive line, wide receivers, defensive line, DBs, your punters? Why not? I mean, Purdue alums. I mean, I just named a couple of them that were former GMs in the NFL.
Yeah.
Were they great at it? No, but do they understand it and have real life experience at the highest level? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. With that being said, you want to kind of get into some, might as well get into, we got a lot of comments here about potential coaching names who, as the season goes on, I'm sure you've had a couple names come to your head of places, other names come up, who Who would you like to see Purdue go after? Or at least try and go after, I should say.
I know we're not going to make a big splash hire because that's not what Purdue is. I mean, we just have to know that. I have a feeling this might be another. I don't have a real name in mind. You all know who I think we're going to go after just because of him being in the last two candidate searches under Babinski. But I feel like I would like to go after an FCS coach that's been there and created a culture and something exactly and has won at that level multiple times. I understand that Big Ten is the big stage, but Signetti's proved that you have a soft schedule, you have confidence in knowing what you do, and have a staff around you that's done this multiple years in and years out. You can make hay, and
yeah,
this fan base is starved for 6 wins. So I'm going to reserve the guy that I think it's going to be. But I think Tanner, it was Vegan.
That's the thing that came up. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Where's he at again? I can't remember where he's at.
Montana State.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think he's 44-7.
Okay. Just I saw this because it does kind of play a part in what we were just talking about. Jim on YouTube asked, "What does next year's schedule look like?" Not great either. Again, so as of right now, we're starting out. Non-conference should be a slightly bit easier. We're playing at Notre Dame. So our non-conference is Ball State at home, Southern Illinois at home, at Notre Dame, and then for the Big Ten, obviously this is not in order, but this is how this website has listed. We play at Michigan, at Minnesota, at Northwestern, home against Illinois, Indiana, Ohio State, Rutgers, USC, and we're at Washington. So
that at Washington game is going to be tough.
Yeah, I think a lot. I mean, it'd be cool to see USC at home. But again, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Notre Dame on the schedule. Like that's it'll be tough. But yeah, there's been some names sorted out. I know, I think names I've seen a lot of Purdue fans talking about have been Chadwell at Liberty.
Yep.
I think what does bodes in Purdue's favor right now, which is hopefully makes them move fast, is that right now there's not a whole lot of big jobs open. Right now it's UNC and Central Florida are the only two other big jobs open right now. So that's definitely hopefully that was also my worry too if we held on to Walters like next year, because next year, potentially Oklahoma could open, Florida could open, like all these, big schools, but that can make, the Purdue job a lot less desirable. So hopefully, with if there's, and that's also why I have to move fast. So if we can get one of these top candidates now before something else happens. But Chadwell was one, who actually does know Walters, because Walters was his DC at Missouri, I believe. He's doing really well.
DB coach.
Oh, DB coach. Okay. That's right. He's doing really well at UNLV, about ready to play in their conference championship. I think that would be probably your home run hire. He may want another crack at a power school job again. But again, who knows? I've seen Ty Hilton down at West Kentucky. His name was thrown out last time before Walter was hired. Kind of just seems like another Brom type hire. Just I think not as innovative as Brom, but he's won there, which is good. I've seen names like, I think it was Marshall's head coach was thrown out there last time, and it could be this time as well. I think there's some ties to Tiffany Grimes in the athletic department with him. Let's see what some of our viewers are saying. Let's see here. Jason on YouTube says Andy Kotelnicki. I don't know who that is, honestly. Has to get a call. Someone's going to get one at Purdue. I'm going to be honest, I do not know that name. I'm going to look him up right now, because I've tried to not really worry about it too much, because I was kind of just waiting for it to actually happen. Oh, he's the offensive coordinator at Penn State.
Okay.
That could be, yeah. I think that's the thing, though, is I think I'd rather get someone who's actually a head coach and can bring staff with him. Like, I don't know how much staff Andy's going to be able to bring from Penn State, and players going to be able to bring from Penn State. I think that's where our argument, like that's kind of what we said. That's kind of what we had with Walters was, he was a coordinator, got some guys, but got some staff, but wasn't able to bring like his entire staff with them. Jason also, Chip Kelly's likely to be available also. Hey, Ryan Day might be too.
I would back the truck up for Ryan Day. They don't understand how good they have it.
Yeah, as I tweeted too, like we don't play Michigan every year, so we play them next year, but it's Metal Scholars also replying to Jason Kelly. Kelly would be splash hires, no doubt, as they would certainly welcome this fan base. Matt Crotty on YouTube says, why would Chip Kelly come here? He's at O State with unlimited NIL money. He'll wait for a big school. I think Kelly is. I don't think he wants to be a head coach.
I don't think so. After leaving UCLA, I don't think he wants to be one anymore.
Ed Albanese on YouTube. Although it's a difficult decision, the risk of holding him another year was high. It could have really tanked the Purdue. Point of return. I 100% agree. I think if you brought him back, it was going to be the level of just apathy from the fan base was going to be probably worse than Hazel at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Davis on Facebook asks, any former college coach on the NFL come back to college? I don't know of any former college coaches now in the NFL that would want to come back to college. I don't know why you would.
So usually they're going to the NFL that we don't deal with NIL and things
exactly,
like that.
Yeah. And I was just John Gruden. I'm going to say a big hell no to that one. Brett K on YouTube says, hire a coach with actual head coaching experience this time. Probably a good start. Do not hire Penn State's offensive coordinator. He has no head coaching experience. I'm kind of with you there. Another name that was thrown out there was Jamarcus Shepard. As much as I love Jamarcus, that's just a Walters type hire. He hasn't even called plays because he didn't call plays at Purdue. He was
I think to finish Evan's point, I think he broke up there. Jamarcus didn't call plays under Brom, so
yeah,
wow, kind of it'd be the same thing.
Let's see here. Mel Scholar says, an FCS coach with a proven track record as head coach who built a winning program culture is always a diamond in the rough. That bewildered program would likely. Yeah, I think that's. I know nothing that was thrown out there was. I'm not sure if I like it. The Toledo head coach. He's been there for 10 years and has done really well. But I feel like Toledo's one of those schools where it's like kind of almost like a James Madison, like where they have success no matter who's at the helm. They just kind of have built-in, recruiting benefits there, and there's always seem to have like no matter who's coaching, they always seem to be doing well. So I'm not sure. Like I like maybe someone who is maybe won at a program that's hard to win at, or maybe built a program up or something, because something's going to happen at Purdue. It's not like again, this isn't like taking over Ohio State or Michigan or anything like that, where there's just so many built-in benefits and advantages with this program. Carl on YouTube says the Ryan Day angle will be interesting, but realistic no-go. Yeah.
Yep. I think the other thing I'm afraid of is Babinski now making the third head coaching hire after the first two have been really undisciplined. Field.
Yeah. And also just with the whole, and this was an argument to bring up earlier of like the thought of, firing Walters or not, there's writing on the wall that Babinski's going to be retiring very, very soon. If not, within the next year. I think he wants to definitely get this revenue sharing off the ground. So it's like that whole thing of like, do you want to hire a new coach, then leave and then straddle him with a new AD who didn't hire him and vice versa. Yep. But I think this season went off the rails so badly that a move had to be made. But
it did. One head coach I'd like to see, I think I know where this is going to go, so I'll bring up the name. But one coach I'd like to see is I think it's Jake Dickert at Washington State. I would like at least to interview him. I understand the Pac-12 and it's going to assemble next year, but I think he'd probably jump to a Big Ten job. I mean, they won 9 games this year.
Yeah.
And he's came from a situation in regards to Washington State that you had the players turn over because hey, the Pac-12 doesn't exist. So coming into a situation, if he could bring his guys along, I mean, that would be a big plus.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I think where my concern is going to be is, and Tanner would disagree, and I'll let you. I think you chimed in on this thoughts. Is I think Troy Calhoun, just because he was talked to a couple times already.
No, I'm gonna say no to that.
He has NFL experience.
I just can't imagine running triple option in West Lafayette. Jason Ron says make Matt Campbell say no. I mean, that's another one. I think what's in Purdue's favor is the fact there's not a whole lot of jobs open. So it's like, why not swing for the fences with some of these, names that are pretty established already?
But Matt Campbell could also take Iowa State to the playoffs.
Yeah, he could. He absolutely could.
Because, I mean, they're in the Big 12 championship. They punch a ticket. Yeah, they're 12th seed, but we'll see.
Yep.
See, there's another comment here from Metal Scholar.
Says going the FCS higher route is usually the most economical bet, but I'm wondering if you guys think there's upside to Purdue at least publicly seeking a big splash hire to show Purdue is serious. I mean, there's definitely some validity, I think, to that. I'm kind of the point now where I don't really care if it's a big splash hire. I just want a coach who can freaking coach at this point. But I think there definitely needs to be. I think going after a big name or doing something to, show that we are seriously, focused on football. I mean, we just kind of saw a game with Indiana. They extended Signetti, and they also I think his assistant pool is double what it is at Purdue. Now, I don't know for how many assistants that is. But it just showed that, hey, they're quite literally the losingest program in all of college football, but they're, what one season can do can change the mindset of a lot of people. And I think that can be the same at Purdue.
100% agree. Coaching pool for IU is $11 million. Ours was just around $6 million.
Yeah.
So what you said, almost double. You definitely have the assistants. They're going to be more comfortable. They're not going to be more looking to take jobs because they are comfortable in the situation, comfortable in the culture, and their role and their responsibilities within that program. I would like to see. We're never going to get the big splashy recruits, and I would like to see something of how Painter's establish folks in regards to taking overlooked guys that could be at the single A, double A, whatever class it is, at those, and proving that these guys can go out and succeed. Now, I understand football's a larger scale than basketball. It's you have to churn through guys. You got to understand what guys fit the system, their personality. That's a whole different animal. But if you do have the staff around you, and I understand Purdue's on the hook for $10 million till 2027 with this current staff paying that out, plus whatever you're going to pay moving forward, which I'm going to have to say it's got to be between 15 to 20.
Yep.
You can't mess this up.
No, and I was talking with a buddy of mine who's a big Tennessee fan, and we were talking over the last couple of weeks. He was asking me about what was going on with Walters and all that, and he's like, "Yeah, your 80's got the most important football hire, or, most important hire of the schools, in Purdue football history." I'm like, "Yeah, it's coming off the last hire he made. Essentially, the first hire he made was the biggest hire in Purdue football history because you had to hire Braum after the Hazel era. So the fact that we're sitting through another biggest hire in the program history is just sucks.
I really have to think that you have to think about a GM and what these programs are doing and putting people in those positions. Yeah,
I'm all for it. I mean, it's the way it's going. I mean, essentially, this is they are borderline professional athletes at this point with some of these guys. Hell, they talk about Ohio State had a $20 million roster just for essentially one game and still didn't work out. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting couple. I'm hoping. When do you hope, if all else, if everything works out, when do you hope to see a coaching decision?
Do you want my answer? As soon as possible, but I know that as soon as possible is going to be Troy Calhoun. He's talked to him the last two cycles. I'm sorry. I'm just going off of what Bobinski's done. I will say that he would be more disciplined because he came from a military academy.
Yeah, that's true. He does have that.
I would hope probably early signing day is you might as well throw it out the window. The class is ranked 97 to 247.
You've got early signing day coming up this week, I think, or portal opens this week as well, I think. So this is all coming down extremely fast.
I don't think that there's probably going to be. I would be shocked if there's a head coach by the closed portal date.
Yeah,
especially if Diener hasn't reported anything of potential candidates. They haven't got ahead of this. I mean, the good thing is you're only looking at 3 openings so far.
Which I can't remember. So I know for Braum, Babinski used a firm, but I don't think he used a firm for Walters, correct?
Correct. He did not use a firm for Walters.
So I'm hoping, and again, we don't know, but I'm hoping maybe with the way that this season, like especially the last back half, like has gone, that hopefully they maybe used a firm to like at least start just putting feelers out there just to see, just to start vetting some people. Because again, I don't want to do. I mean, if this was really did catch you off guard, but I'm not sure how like the results have been what they've been. I would hope he'd started, but I'd hope he had been, putting the groundwork in, because you do want to know, like, if we are going after like a Barry Odom or something like that, like they're playing in a conference championship, so that's another that's next week. So like, would they do any sort of announcement before they play that? I don't know.
No, and that's the other thing is if we go the FCS route, if they're in the FCS playoffs, that coach and that staff's going to continue through the FCS playoffs, which would be end of December, beginning of January.
Yeah. Dave McKenna on YouTube says we need to find an experienced head coach who's a winner in a smaller school or league and will come in ready to work hard and prove himself at the next level. Agreed. At Albanese again says at this point, anyone with military experience or coaching be good beneath the discipline and culture. So Ed's on your side. MeTube on YouTube says whoever keeps bringing up FCS Grizzlies or G5, right? No FCS coach is going to go straight to P4 job, especially with the new landscape or NIL. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Matthew Keller, I was going to say what about the Army coach? Malcolm McCollum on YouTube says he should not have taken this job. He was set up for fail by the former coach, not deliberate. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is like obviously I think Braum wasn't exactly, and you can see it in the recruiting, like he wasn't as good as he had been. You could definitely feel like a 1 foot out the door type of thing. But yeah, I just think this was, to your point, at least like it was obviously still on Walters, but I definitely think he was not set up as best as he could be given the situation of coming off a team that had just gone to the Big Ten championship, which feels again like a decade ago. Rex on YouTube says Tiller always evaluated potential talent and recruits, then develop we need a guy who can do that. This is what Painter as well. Yeah, I mean it's easier said than done. But yeah, definitely those guys who can have an eye for talent and just know how to develop these guys. Yeah, me too. But also, someone Walters should be a DC, and that will offset some of the buyout, I imagine. Yeah, I don't think Walters will be unemployed for very long. I think someone will scoop him up as a DB coach or a defensive coordinator somewhere.
I bet he goes back to Illinois.
I was like, but I don't know. I like, did he burn some bridges with Bielema? I don't know. And obviously, I feel bad for Carter's career did not go as well as what his potential actually is. Yeah, I thought he had a lot of potential, but also, I mean, he had a lot of happy feet too. And Ed Albanese disagrees. He does not think he will go back to Illinois.
I said as an analyst, not as being a coach. I think it'd be a short-term stint.
Yeah. MeToo says Chris Creighton built a program up at EMU. That was another guy I'd seen people floating, was the Eastern Michigan coach. It's not an easy place to win, and he's done a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got a hell of a beard too. I say bring back Danny Hope as like an offensive lineman coach just for the hell of it.
I did want to throw this out there. I was watching the Oklahoma LSU game yesterday because my manager is a huge Oklahoma alumni fan, and they were ready to pull the trigger on a $70 million buyout in the boosters there for Kelly. So would you want Kelly?
Absolutely not. God, I hate that guy so much. He wins, but man, I just think he's a terrible human being.
I don't disagree.
Carl says Lovie Smith for DC. Why not at this point? Screw it. At this point, what the hell?
So I know we're kind of coming up on our time here, and I think one thing we and you and Tanner will uncover this as this week will go on with Purdue basketball is the guys hopping the portal. There will be a lot of guys jumping in the portal, and I don't blame them at this point.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you're like a Maccabee, you can get paid because the NFL isn't a guarantee. Especially at a running back position, you can go be if a contender wants to pay you, let's say $1 million, you got to take it.
Yeah, I'm worried he goes down south. That's my big worry.
I'm worried Claire goes to Notre Dame and we have to play him next year.
Yeah. I mean, I would not blame guys a single bit for jumping, especially a guy like Maccabee. This will be his third head coach if he sticks around. I mean, it would be his third head coach no matter where if he decides to jump in the portal. But I could, I don't blame guys at this. I mean, I hope if we can keep them, which I know what Tanner and I will talk about this, but if we can keep a couple guys, I'd love to keep Thieneman. He's from a Purdue family, so hopefully that overshadows anything. I'd love to keep Claire. I'd love to just dump all we have there. Maccabee, Thieneman. I like Will Helt as from an effort standpoint. Keep Crimmins.
Absolutely. I'd back the truck up with Crimmins.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, some other comments here before we kind of dip out here. Rudy says people keep talking about Tiller. Hello, it's not 9th Big Ten or college football. That's not happening in Indiana. Got lucky. David McKenna says, I think Walters was not ready to become a head coach. He needs to find a mentor and develop his skills. He'll most likely be a great head coach somewhere about 10 years. Yeah, that was the risk you were taking with Walters was like, if he can figure this out quickly, it could be huge. But we saw what happens when he didn't. At Albany says, any coach that gives us 5 or 6 years of huge improvement, I will take that in a heartbeat. And Albany says, Max Clare said he's leaving, correct? At the point, there's no loyalty. He didn't say, but I think they asked him about it at one point. He says, he's focused on this year and all that. So you could probably read between the lines. Matt Crotty says, dude, from what I know, Indiana was putting out feelers and evaluating months before they canned down, and they were prepared when it happened. Actually, there was I went back on Knucklehead Central, and there was someone went back and looked at like when Brom left, like Coachy Canton, someone on the Purdue board had said go after Kurt Signetti, which like just hurts. That was just Jeff Saturday. No.
No.
Rudy Ray Moore says, now that Indiana and Illinois are good, the Purdue job is twice as hard. From people I know at Illinois, the entire coaching staff and AD hates Ryan Walters. I don't think Walters made any friends leaving and taking some guys and showing up on Illinois campus to drive Hudson Card back to Purdue for a visit. I think that probably burns about as many bridges as possible. Race on Facebook says, I'm afraid the next year could be the same because of transferring lack of recruiting class. Yeah, I think next year is going to be tough no matter what.
There's going to be a lot of roster turnover. I'll say over under 20 guys jump in the portal.
I think it's over just from coaching, just from a coaching change standpoint alone.
You think it's closer to 30? I mean, Galway's already jumped in the portal. We already know that.
Yeah, I'd probably say maybe around 25, honestly.
Okay.
Let's see here. I'm just doing a water boy. Let him try. Why not reach Peyton Manning? He wants to become a coach.
No, he's got a media company.
Yeah, if anything, he'll be a GM at Tennessee. But if we can start wrapping this up, we do want to thank our sponsors for sitting with us through this fun season that we've all been through. Let me see. Let me find all of our stuff here. Haven't done this in a minute. Obviously, want to thank Mad Mushroom. If you're on campus, make sure you stop in. It's December 1st. We have not gotten the new pizza of the month yet. But if you go online, you can use code BREAK5 for $5 off any order over $20. Also, the shirt I'm wearing, I wore this shirt on purpose today, even before I knew the if you're watching, I've got a play hard Gene Katie shirt. I wore this because I thought the team did not play hard at all last night, and I wanted to punch a hole in the wall. But one thing, well, go ahead.
December pizza of the month is chicken pot pie.
Chicken pot pie, sweet. I'm sure we'll have a new banner for that. Hopefully, I'm sure Tanner will record some point early this week. Purdue doesn't have a game until Thursday for basketball, so we'll probably record before then when Tanner can hop back on. But I also want to thank the shop. It's December, it's Christmas time. If you're in the area, if you're in Broad or Port Carmel or downtown, they've got 3 retail locations. Or if you want to use the shopany, if you go to shopany.com, use promo code breakdown, you get 25% off. I know actually right now they're running a 30% off sale. So if you want to take advantage of that, I recommend you do so. But appreciate our sponsors for being with us this football season. Thank God for Matt Painter and Purdue basketball for getting me through this. Because if we didn't have Matt Painter right now, it would be dark times. As we kind of saw in 2013 when we were less than both, as we also witnessed as students. Ooh, here we go. You might like this one. Cody says ASU's Kenny Dillingham or someone that runs the triple option.
Troy Calhoun. I'm telling you, that firm found him in the first search. Babinski interviewed him in the second one. Yeah. I would not be surprised if he gets another look because he has NFL experience, former quarterback. It technically checks all the boxes. It may not be the sexy hire, but
yeah,
it does.
Anyways, appreciate everybody. We appreciate all the comments. And this is we figured to be a pretty interactive episode, just given the status of the program and what happened. But appreciate you jumping on, Aaron, in the light of Tanner's absence. He's thought eating turkey was more important, apparently. But appreciate it. And Boiler Up, we'll keep everybody. Obviously, we'll find out as you guys do, and I'm sure if anything happens that's not on our normal podcasting schedule, I'm sure we will have a episode at some point. But appreciate everybody, and we will talk to you next time. Boiler Up, and thank God for Purdue basketball.
Hammer down. We're going to be in the top 10 this week.